Hi, folks. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Dr. Paris, Monroe, psychologist, and today I want to speak to you about anxiety, PTSD, God, of course. As a psychologist, I see lots of people in my office who claim to be Christians, and that's fine. But then how come my issue is how come they have so much anxiety and fear? Because my feeling is a Christian should not have so much chronic anxiety and fear. Now I can understand the transient daily anxiety as far as traffic, getting to work on time, paying bills, a bill or two that you're running late on, but not a chronic situation which is very common. Some of these folks that I see mostly are military veterans because that's who I want to see mostly. PTSD military veterans who, so many years later, are still traumatized by what they went through. They've done all sorts of things over the years. They've drank gallons of alcohol, many gallons of alcohol. They've smoked pounds of marijuana, if that's the correct terminology, pounds of that. They've taken so many prescriptions. They've talked to a bunch of psychiatrists and psychologists and counselors. Some have, some haven't. And they claim to be a Christian that goes to church almost every Sunday, which is probably very few Sundays, really. They don't read the Bible, but very few Christians do read the Bible. That's why I really doubt if they're Christians, and that's why I really doubt if the veterans that come and see me are Christians too, because a Christian reads the Bible. A real Christian reads the Bible, and the reason a real Christian reads the Bible is because he loves the Bible. The Bible is good reading, and everything else, all these other fiction, nonfiction, science fiction, novels, are all, in my opinion, baloney. What a waste of time. Very little to gain out of it. The only thing that I see that is worth gaining more knowledge, understanding is God, right? Isn't that why we're here on this earth anyway? Truly, to see if we're going to find God and follow Him, to see if we're going to find God, see that God is really great. He's done a ton for us. He's given us this training field called Earth to train and practice and hopefully get it right, where we become a true follower, true Christian of God, and we see and understand what this life is all about, and we are not afraid of it. That's where we got to go. And when I see these PTSD people, military combat, I know it's they can describe to me all the horrors that they went through as far as IED blast and grenades going off, small arms fire, landmines, which I guess is pretty much IEDs now. It's not called landmines so much. I never hear the term landmine anymore. The Vietnam veterans still talk about landmines, and I guess Korean guys do too. And I don't see too many Korean guys. Still see quite a few Vietnam guys. Korea was 15 years, 15, 16, 17 years before Vietnam. So, and the Vietnam guys are all in their very late 70s, 60s, or up to their late 70s, I guess. And so the Korean guys are like 90, you know. World War II, I haven't seen a World War II veteran in some time. But that's besides the point. The thing is, you can't you can't be a true, real believing Christian if you still have so much fear. As much fear as you have is as much faith as you don't have. What are you fearing about? What is your fear all about? I think your fear is all about dying. And I've said that to so many veterans before, and they come back and they say, well, I'm not afraid to die. But you have fear, so what are you fearing if it isn't death? Oh, the pain of dying. The pain of dying. Going through the torments of dying, the painfulness of it is what you're afraid of, not being actually dead. Well, what's it like to be dead? What happens when you die? It's one of my 5 basic questions that I always ask. And the 5 questions are, why are you here on earth? What are you here for? What are you supposed to do? What is your purpose? And what happens when you die? And so few people know the answers to those things. Well, how can you know? How can you know? No one knows. A true Christian would know. They would know why they are here, what they are here for, what they're supposed to do, what their purpose is, and they would know, therefore, from knowing the first 4 questions, they would know the last question, question number 5, what happens when you die. They know they are going to heaven because they have fulfilled their purpose. They know what their purpose is. They've fulfilled it, and they're fulfilling it still, and they want to get better at it, and that's the only thing that they want to get better at. And they look at the PTSD event that they went through many years ago or whatever, and they say, yeah, I get it. It was horrible if you look at it in that respect, content, as far as people getting blown up and dying. But then again, why are we here? What are we here for? What are we supposed to do? What is our purpose? To get blown up and dead and killed? Well, we're going to die. But the thing is, did we learn that there is a God? He is real. He does exist. Do we see that this is a temporary test trial life? Do we see that this is nothing but training and practice? And of course, people are going to get taken off the playing field one way or the other. It gets pretty nasty out there, folks. I know, that there's plenty of time for laughs and giggles, and God don't mind us laughing and giggling, just like a parent does not mind their children, playing and laughing and giggling and teasing and all of that. That's fine. The parents enjoy that too. However, the parents also want the kids to brush their teeth and clean their room and do good in school. And God don't mind us laughing and kidding and joking and having a good old time. He's fine with that. But he is also hoping that we learn what this life is all about, why we're here, what we're here for, what we're supposed to do, what our purpose is, so that we know what happens when we die. Now, knowing what happens when we die is not the ultimate purpose of this life, just knowing that we're going to heaven. The ultimate purpose of this life is come to the realization that there is a God. He is real. He does exist. He loves the dickens out of us, wants us to pass this training and practice testing that's going on here on earth, and to be with him forever in heaven. That is what the purpose is of this life. Yes, you can laugh and joke and kid and tease and have all sorts of fun and, do good in school and do good at the job and hopefully have a family and raise a bunch of kids to keep this life going on here. Because what's the one thing that God wants more than anything else? More people, right? He said, be fruitful and multiply. He wants more people. He wants to fill his heaven up with a ton of people that love the dickens out of him, are so thankful and so appreciative of everything he has done, and love him and serve him and see that he is a great guy, because he is a great guy. That's what God wants. And so he's hoping us people down here will be fruitful and multiply and learn all about God so that we can teach our kids, so that they can follow in our footsteps, right? And those footsteps lead right through heaven's gates into this fabulous land, whatever it is, planet, land, whatever, called heaven, where God is supreme being of all. And that's great, because he is the best by far. No one can run the place better than God, and he has every intention of running the place good. So if our focus is on those things, how can PTSD still be biting us in the backside? Come on, folks. Are you looking at this at all? Are you looking at what the purpose of this life is? That we're supposed to overcome these things. We're supposed to see them, that this life is horrible and very dangerous. And if you do not have God's provision and protection, it can be pretty darn gruesome and nasty. We need to see this. We need to change our focus from how bad things have been, were back in the day, so on and so forth. And we need to see that there is a God. He is real. He does exist. He's showing us how nasty this world can be, hoping that we see that and draw closer to him for his provision and protection. That's why we see and witness these dangers. I know for the most part, when we're kids, everything is fine and dandy. Mom and Dad are doing all the provision and protection we need. We don't have to figure out what we're going to do when we grow up, because that's kind of far from our thoughts at all. Mom and Dad are providing and protecting us on everything. They tell us what to do. We don't have to think of what to do. They just tell us what to do. Clean your room, brush your teeth, go to school, do good, mow the lawn, do the laundry, cook some, learn how to cook, clean, all that stuff. Mom and Dad tells us all about that all the time. And so we just do it. And we go to school and the teachers tell us, read these chapters, do these questions, do these the problems in the back of the book, turn them in tomorrow, there's a test next week. Okay, we don't have to think. They just tell us. We go out for the baseball team, football team, ballet, whatever it is that the school is offering. We go out for that. And the coaches tell us what to do. Do this, do that, do this. We don't have to think. And if anything goes wrong, we go run into Mom and Dad, and they fix it. Somehow they fix it. But there is that day that comes when we finally move away from Mom and Dad. We graduated from high school. We did good. Maybe we went to college. Maybe we didn't. Blah, 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 whatever. We went to college. We're probably still hanging out pretty close to home because we're not working, earning our way. We're going to college. And so, so we need Mom and Dad's money to float our boat and keep us going. That's fine. Some of us join the military right after high school. Some of us get a job and start working because we want to get out of the house, get our own place, and have some real freedom, whatever. But then we start seeing how, so we're all caught up in that. But then, for instance, if we join the military and we go to war, because this country fights lots of wars, and we go to war and we see all this death, dying, killing going on that we never saw before, we get traumatized. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, traumatized, and we're a wreck from that time. Well, how come? Because we witnessed this gruesome killing, death, dying, killings, bombs, bullets, and bodies, we get traumatized because we never saw anything like that before. And it makes us wonder, am I going to get it too? How come I didn't get it? Am I going to get it? What's it like to die? It looks awfully terrible. And so we get mesmerized, traumatized by all of those thoughts, and we never get answers to those thoughts. That's why the PTSD lingers so long, is because the PTSD traumatic event put a vision into our heads, and all of these questions about how come and why, and how come we die, if we live, why do we die, if we die, why do we live, what happens when we die, am I going to die like that too, and even if I don't die like that, I'm going to die eventually because everyone does, and what's it like to die, and all these questions and no answers. And that's what that's why the trauma lasts forever, is because we never get answers for those questions. We go to school, they don't know, they don't talk about it. Mom and dad don't tell us about it, don't talk about it. We go to church, maybe, right? And the pastor is into, in my opinion, into entertaining more than anything, more than teaching. But even if you find a pastor that actually teaches some Bible, they never really teach why are we here, what are we here for, what are we supposed to do, what is our purpose, and what happens when we die. They don't answer those questions directly. And so we don't know. We go to the psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors, and so on, and they beat around the bush. The psychiatrists try to shove a bunch of drugs at us. You know, as I say, I'm sorry, the psychiatrists, there's no difference between psychiatrists and bartenders. What's the psychiatrist, what's my saying? Psychiatrists heal as many people as the bartender. None. They never did, and they never will, because you have to learn something new, and pills and alcohol don't teach anything. So they will never get you well. Who will get you well? A counselor will get you well. Any counselor? No. Very few. Very few understand this life. Counselors go around and around about this and that and this and that and small talk, and I swear to God, they're just after your money. The paycheck they get from seeing you. But as far as actually healing you, I don't think they know how. And the psychiatrist doesn't touch it at all, but he just wants to push meds onto you, medications onto you. And the pastors at the church, they never hit the subject. They never touch the subject. They're completely, in my estimation, completely unaware that PTSD even exists. Anyway, I want to go on about this a whole bunch. I like what we've said already. I think it's been great, and we're going to have to continue this, but not right now. Time is up, and I don't want these videos to be so long. So I'm going to have to put together another video very soon, and I hope you join me then. So thank you very much. Again, I'm Dr. Paris Monroe, psychologist. You can reach me at my email, dr.monroe@yahoo.com. That's dr.monroe, MONROW, @yahoo.com. Send me an email. We'll talk about it, possibly on the air. Thanks so much for listening, folks. We will see you again shortly. Thank you. Bye-bye.